get in here, grab a cup of tea, get comfy, because we're about to have a nice chatty vlog. Also, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Bookmas. So for today's video, I thought we could switch the pace just a little bit and have a more cozy, chatty video. I'm mostly just talking about books that are coming up in the new year, like a lot of new releases that I'm eager to read, as well as just in general books that I want to prioritize in 2025, which I truly can't believe we are a month away, or less than a month away now at this point, for the new year, which is a bit terrifying. But to get us back on track, I thought we could go over some new releases that are on my radar and just my thoughts on them and why I'm excited for them, and then just highlight some books that I also hope to read in the upcoming year. I made some tea. It's really hot right now, so that's why I haven't had a sip, but I suggest you go grab a beverage, make some hot chocolate, make some tea, grab a snack, get cozy, and let's chat about some books. Okay, I had to put my teacup down right now because it was just piping hot and it was burning my hand, and I replaced it with my laptop because I need to get these dates for you guys for these new releases. There are about, let me just see. So far, I have 9 new releases that are on my radar. And again, this isn't to say this is all of the books. These are just 9 that I'm really excited for from authors that I've read from before and who are my auto-buy authors, basically, and just in general books that sound very exciting and the covers are stunning. Also, for the most part, I only have books up until June coming out, so I do think, you know, second half of next year, we just don't know some of those books yet, so keep that in mind. I might make a part 2 to this video like in next year if we start to get more book announcements, so maybe I'll do that. But enough of me yapping and rambling. The first book on my new releases for next year is none other than Onyx Storm. I'm so excited for this book. I'm about to start my reread actually for Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, so I'm getting prepared for this book. This one comes out January 21st, and I'm really hoping to get my hands on the special edition. I didn't pre-order this one just because the pre-order for Iron Flame was such a disaster. I didn't want to risk it, and there's a few Barnes & Nobles near me, so I'm sure one of them will have one available for me to pick up. This is the 3rd book in the Empyrean series. I transparently do not know that much about it because I'm trying to go in not knowing much. I think that's the best way to approach some of these fantasy books, in particular Rebecca Yarros. I feel like if you read her synopsis, sometimes they just give too much away. So I'm sure we'll be picking up right where Violet left off, and we have to figure out now what to do with Xaden and all of the craziness at Basgiath, and I'm just super excited. I also think this edition is stunning and will look good with the other editions that I have for this book. I personally have Fourth Wing in the winter edition, so the red cover, and then I have just the standard Iron Flame, I believe. I don't think there's that many other editions of that one. I do have the paperback Fourth Wing as well, just because I really liked the dragons on the sides. But regardless, Onyx Storm kicking off the new year with January 21st, and I'm excited. Let me know if you guys are excited for this one. I feel like some people either hate this series or love this series. I personally love it because to me, it's like a potato chip, like junk food fantasy. Like, it's just so bingeable and good. I'm really curious to see how this one will play out, and I'm really hoping that we don't have as much repetition. I felt like Iron Flame had too much repetition, and I partially believe it's because how soon it came out. This one we had to wait a little bit longer, so I'm really hoping that it's just a good one. The next book that I have on my radar is First Time Caller, and first, this cover, stunning. It is so cute. I don't know what it is about it, but I just cannot wait to read this book simply from the cover alone. And this book comes out February 11th, so I think a perfect Valentine's Day read. Am I right, guys? And I believe this is from the same author that wrote Lovelight Farms. And on Goodreads, they have this book marketed as a hopeless romantic meets a jaded radio host and the cozy Sleepless in Seattle inspired love story. I also personally love Sleepless in Seattle, so I feel like this has to be just a good time. The next book on my list is a highly anticipated read, and that is Sunrise on the Reaping, aka the next book in the Hunger Games universe. This book in particular follows Haymitch's Games And as some of you may or may not know, we got to see some crumbs of his games from the movies and the books, but now we're getting a book solely dedicated to him and what happened to him, and I'm really curious on what's going to happen, what all we're going to see and witness. And then I believe we're getting a movie also already, like that's already going to be in the works as well in 2026. So really excited. I personally love the Hunger Games universe. I'm honestly shocked that we're getting more books in this. I kind of thought once we got the prequel, we'd be done. And this book comes out March 18th. I don't think I said that, but okay. The next book that I have on my list that I'm also anticipating to be a 5-star read is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. This book comes out April 1st. I have an unpopular opinion. I don't love the cover of this book. I don't know what it is. Color palette that they chose, it just doesn't do it for me. Now, all that to be said, if I see this book in person and I love it, don't come back for me on this video, because sometimes the digital renderings don't do it justice. So I'm hoping that maybe the physical edition will look better. I don't know, but this book comes out April 1st. It's from Abby Jimenez. I have loved most of her romances that she has published within the past few years, so I'm sure this one will also be a phenomenal read. I'm hoping 5 stars, but I'll also be content with 4 stars. Shortly after Say You'll Remember Me is being released, we have Fearless, which is book 3 in Lauren Roberts' universe fantasy world that she has created. This is the final installment for this book trilogy. Finally get to see what the hell is going to happen in this world. If you've read book 2, then you know that was a clusterfuck of a read. It honestly didn't need to be released. Like, that could have been incorporated into this book, I fear, but it did end on a pretty big cliffhanger. So I'm curious on how it's all going to get wrapped up in this last book. I still have high hopes for it because I really did enjoy book 1, Powerless. I just thought that was so fun and captivating. And the UK edition of this book, stunning. Like, why are we not getting that edition here in the United States? Like, not you guys making me want to purchase the UK book. And then to wrap up the month of April, April is a big publishing month. But to wrap it all up, we have Great Big Beautiful Life from Emily Henry, our girl, our queen. I'm repping one of my merch from her. I'm beyond excited for this. I know she keeps saying it's slightly different than what she normally has published recently, so I'm so curious on what this one's gonna fully be about. I'm trying to also avoid like reading the summary here for this book because I want to go in so blind. Personally love the color of this book, and I also love that she branched out in the titling of her book. Like, we didn't do just 2 words. We're going back to a longer title similar to People We Meet on Vacation. We have Great Big Beautiful Life. I know this is inspired on some Taylor Swift song. I think there's a Barnes & Noble exclusive edition as well where the color scheming is a little different, but I think they're both beautiful and I cannot wait to get it. Kicking off the month of May, we have Carly Fortune's new release, One Golden Summer. You guys, can we take a moment for this cover? It is perfection. It is stunning. It is beautiful. I love the other covers of her books as well, and I think they're just works of art, but this one is by far my favorite. I didn't know if she could top her first book. Like, the first cover of her first book is just gorgeous. The light blue color scheme, it just screams summer so much, but this one, I think this is my favorite now. Like, this is beautiful. I can't wait to get my hands on a copy of this book. It is stunning. We're following actually another character that we have already met in one of her other books. I don't want to give too much away in case you guys haven't read them, but it's kind of a loosely interconnected sequel to a character we met in a previous book of hers, and this one comes out May 6th. So a great way to kick off summer was with a Carly Fortune book. She does a great job of just capturing summer in a bottle, and I will say, I think with each release, her writing has gotten better and better. I'm hoping this one is just as fun as her last book. I'm just very excited for it. She's becoming one of my more favorite authors, particularly in the summertime. If you're looking for that traditional summer beachy read that's a romance book, then highly recommend checking this one out and adding it to your radar. Also, just the cover alone, like, you guys, this book is beautiful. Also coming out in May is A Curse Carved in Bone. This one comes out in May 13th, and this is the second book in the saga of the Unfated. This is also the final book because it's a duology, so we're wrapping everything up in this universe, which I love duologies. We need more duologies because sometimes I don't want to start a 12-book series. But regardless, this is the final book in this duology, and I'm hoping that we just get a lot of information because book 1 left in such a cliffhanger. My jaw was on the floor and I've been thinking about it nonstop. Also, the first time the book came out, A Fate Inked in Blood, it had beautiful blue foiling on the edges. It's literally stunning. It's one of my favorite books that I purchased last year, and the sequel is going to have a gorgeous red foiling, so I already know it's going to look great on the bookshelf, so I can't wait to pick it up. It's a romantasy book that is Nordic fantasy, so if you're looking at something that's a little bit more fleshed out in the fantasy world building, then I highly recommend checking out this duology because Danielle Jensen's writing is phenomenal. Can't wait to see how this all wraps up. And I can't believe it's coming out in May. For some reason I thought it was coming out sooner, but it comes out May 13th. And again, the special edition of this book is going to be stunning. And the last new release that I have on my list is With a Vengeance by Riley Sager. This one comes out June 10th, and I think he quite literally just announced that he's coming out with this book. So there's not a lot to share about it, but I'm excited about it. I personally love reading Riley Sager. I always have kind of made a little tradition of every summer I need to read one Riley Sager book, and it just doesn't feel like summer if I don't read one of his books. And now I will say I don't always read a new release of his when it comes out the year. I usually read it the following year because, similar to Emily Henry, I collect Riley Sager books in paperback form. So I do wait a year before I read it. So I usually get to see if it's actually worth picking up, because I do know Riley Sager's books can be very hit or miss with everyone, and so I usually like to see what the general consensus is before I pick it up. So those are all the new releases that are coming out in 2025 that I have on my radar thus far. If you guys know of any other new books that are coming out that you think I might like, let me know in the comments below. But as of right now, that's what's on my radar. It's already pretty stacked, like 9 books. That's a lot. But I do have a handful of other books that I would love to prioritize in the upcoming year. So the first book that I have down, or I guess duology, is the Six of Crows duology. I know I haven't read this one, and I know it's a cult favorite. I haven't read it. I have not read Shadow and Bone, so please let me know, do I have to read that trilogy before reading Six of Crows, or can I just dive into Six of Crows and be totally fine? And just like, you know, I have watched the TV show, okay? So please don't come for me, but I have watched the show, so I do know, I think, bits and bobs that happen, but just let me know, do I need to read the trilogy before this duology? But that is a high priority of mine. I really want to get to Six of Crows. Also, a high priority of mine for the upcoming year is finally getting into Brandon Sanderson books. I think I'm specifically going to start with the Mistborn trilogy. I think it's time. I think I'm finally ready. I think I've done my fantasy prep work and just like familiarizing myself in the fantasy genre in general, that I think I feel comfortable enough trying to tackle his books. From what I've heard is that they're actually very reader friendly, but it is like the first book in the little mini series that he has put out. It's just a slog to get through because it's a lot of info dumping and you're just having to figure out what the world is that you're reading about. But I'm thinking of starting with the Mistborn trilogy, and I'm really excited, but definitely let me know your thoughts below on like if there's any other reading order that I need to be mindful of or anything like that. I know he has so many books, like it is crazy the amount this man publishes, but I'm excited. I'm also nervous, so please give me any tips below on reading his books. Another fantasy series that I want to continue is Throne of Glass. I just started this series, and so I'm slowly making my way through Sarah J Maas's work. To be really frank, I don't know if I want to read the Crescent City books. Those just do not look good to me, so I'm kind of just taking my time with Throne of Glass, and then we'll see what happens there. But I definitely want to continue it and finish it next year. I would love to finish it by like spring, summer, just so that I can already like have that off my plate and then focus on other fantasy related items in the like second half of the year. That's the tentative timeline, but I am on Throne of Glass. I did read Assassin's Blade first. Please don't come for me. But it does not make sense to read a prequel third in a series. So I read it first, so I have all that background information, and now I'm about to read Throne of Glass, and I'm pretty excited about it. I'm excited to also just see why people love this series in particular so much. And I definitely want to continue dipping my toes into classical literature. And the main book here that's on my list, and this is definitely for like Halloween, like the month of October, I want to read Frankenstein. I realized I don't think I ever read Frankenstein fully. I think I might have read passages in my literature classes in high school, but I feel like this would be a fun book to one, try and read more like classical literature, but then also just like Frankenstein. I feel like this is a foundation book in the horror genre, and if I want to just like know more about it, you know, can read this one. Anyway, so I guess this is like Frankenstein slash like more traditional classical literature. I have Little Women on my radar that I'm trying to read in winter, so reading this Frankenstein book in fall seems like a nice one. I also kind of want to read Pride and Prejudice, but I don't know when I want to read it slash if I should, or do I need to read Jane Eyre? Like, y'all let me know. Like, for the fans who are like so into all these types of books, let me know which ones are the best ones to read. Next like category on my list of books to read in 2025 is Kristen Hanna books, in particular The Nightingale and The Great Alone. Those two books I feel like I've seen a lot of great reviews about. I am about to read Firefly Lane in the next few months, and so I'm kind of just trying to think about other books from her that I would love to read in the upcoming year, and I feel like these two ones are on my radar. I have seen some not so great reviews of her other books, but these two, like particularly The Nightingale, this one I think speaks to me a little bit more, and I'm thinking of reading this in fall of next year, which I know seems crazy to already be thinking about that, but maybe I'll sneak it in winter as well of this year, depending on how Firefly Lane goes. But in general, I would love to read more of Kristen Hanna books. And then speaking of authors, another author that I would love to read more from is Stephen King. I have a book that's been sitting on my physical TBR for a hot minute now, and I'm maybe gonna read it in winter. I don't know, I don't want to make that promise or like say it out loud in case I don't read it. But I think it's time that I also start exploring Stephen King books. I feel like he's such a staple in the community. It's time that I finally start diving into Stephen King. I'm not saying I want to read all of them. Like, I definitely don't want to read It. That does not speak to me, but just like start sprinkling in a few of his like more mystery-esque type of books I think I could enjoy. Anyways, guys, those are all the books that I have on my radar for 2025 as of right now. A good mix of new release books as well as some backlist items that I'm hoping to get through in the upcoming year. If there are any books you are excited for, definitely let me know in the comments below. If there's any new releases coming out, or just in general some books you're looking forward to reading during the next few months, let me know. And if you have any thoughts on any of the books that I've mentioned, particularly some of the backlist items like Brandon Sanderson or Kristen Hanna or Stephen King, if you guys have any thoughts, recommendations, reading orders, truly anything, any advice, let me know in the comments below. I'm all ears, and I can't believe we are heading into 2025. Like, that's truly insane. But that's gonna be all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next Bookmas video or my videos in general. And I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Bye, guys.